yourself, please.
What, you don't know? Yeah, nah, just kidding. Okay, well, my name's Poe in the dancing world. Poe One. I represent many families. Style Miss Monster Squad, Flow Rockers, Actual Force, BVDs, Original Manners, Star Child of Rock, DSR, Death Style Rockers. Alright, many families.
The newest family?
Oh, yo, I'm family with the Bassick.
Yeah.
Bassick Crew. They haven't battled me in yet, though, but let's see what happens. Yeah.
So, how did you find your time in Cyprus?
Cyprus, okay. I was in Lima Sol.
Yeah, baby.
Sol in Spanish means sun, but you know, they spell it like soul, right? So Lima Sol, it was my first time in Cyprus, and I gotta say, it reminded me of home. You guys, you know, like I said before, you guys are like, to me, it feels like Puerto Rico, and vice versa. If you went to Puerto Rico, you would probably think, oh, you guys are like us, like in Cyprus, you know what I mean? So it has that vibe, since it is like an island sunny vibe, you know what I mean? People look good, you know, people are happy. They talk to you in the street, everybody's courteous. I had a great time, you guys. The hospitality that you guys shared with me is incredible. I can't say it's not, because what you guys did, man, I'm very grateful. So thank you. You know?
We're grateful as well for everything.
Word.
So I wanted to ask you, what is Cipher to you?
Cipher.
Yeah, what is Cipher to you?
Well, if you really dig deep and you try to look for the meaning of where the word cipher comes from, you know, it's like a 5% thing, right? It means a circle. It means a full circle. It means a meaning of minds. When everybody's kind of building on the meanings of minds, everyone starts to get connected and feed off each other, and it's kind of like this connection that happens for a few moments. You know what I mean? So when you see, like, in the 90s or, you know, late 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, 90s, a lot of people were talking about Cipher in the raps, MCs. So it's like, yo, step into the Cipher, God, and that means for them to MC with them, you know? But if you really think about it, when you see a circle together, like when we were kids, when I was a kid, and we had a circle together, if there wasn't a good energy, you know what I mean? That and everyone's kind of feeding off each other, then that would be considered what today is called a cipher. Okay, when I was a kid, it was a circle, but now, from the late 80s to 90s to now, it's considered a cipher. So if you really break down the definition of cipher, you got to study like the 5% Nation's teachings and stuff and figure out what the cipher is. It's basically a zero. It represents zero, and that everything in life is circular. You know what I mean? That kind of like a circle, and it everything kind of like 360 degrees. You know, what goes around comes around, blah 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 blah, and that's the feeding. Like if I go in the circle, you feed off that, and then you go in, then flavor goes in, then unique goes in, then drain goes in. It's kind of like we're feeding off each other, and it's going back around to one another. So it's kind of like that if there is that vibe. But there's circles that don't have that vibe, and that's not considered a cipher. It's more kind of a connection of spirituality at that moment, vibing off each other on that same page, you know? That's what it is.
Okay. I think it's great
part of it.
How you found like a connection between, you said, when we were kids and we would see a circle, we would go in. So my question to that is, something that you repeated to us quite a few times is, and something that dancers tend to misunderstand, you know, normal life and dancing life, like what kind of person I am in my real life, and then the kind of person I become in the studio. How do these two personalities connect, or are they separated, or are they the same?
Your life, the games you play outside with your friends, is the same games you should play inside. When you're in the circle, play your games. Perfect example. You guys heard me say this many times. In this car, who's played cops and robbers when they were kids? except this guy right here, Drake. But everybody's played cops and robbers, mostly when they're 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. How many of you guys play cops and robbers in the circle? No hands are up. Okay? So that's the difference. The B-boys react and they play kind of characters and stuff in the circles. And that's where that spice, that playfulness begins to happen with music, you know? And that means your everyday life, your everyday games, the sneakiness you do to scare your girlfriend. When you sneak up behind her, your shoulders go up and you kind of just like sneaking to scare her. All that character is the same way you feel if you're going to sneak up on somebody in the circle. That persona you have outside, it comes in. So the way you are outside is the way, and the fantasy world you lived outside is the same fantasy world that you should bring into the circle, and also exaggerate it, you know? Really believe it, because when you were a kid, you really believed the games you played. You know, if you believe that the living room floor was hot lava, and you were jumping from chair to sofa, and if you touched the floor, you died in hot lava, and you and your sister or your brothers are playing, or your friends in the neighborhood are playing hot lava, you know, then you really became into the game, you know? It's the same thing in the circle. I don't separate that, you know what I mean? So you're right. I think your real life, bring it into the circle, man, your real character. It's going to add a lot of fun to it, you know what I mean?
So one thought I had on this right now is that the same way that in your dancing you can like become better and have some disciplines and stuff, you can also bring that outside into your
Everyday
personal,
life.
everyday life, and that way, like, because if it's one thing, that means that both should be improving.
Exactly, both are improving.
Yeah.
It's also, if you're lazy in your real life, you're going to be lazy when you dance. If you're organized in your real life, you're going to be organized when you dance.
Vice versa.
Vice versa. You know what I mean? When you really like something, you kind of cherish that. You understand what I mean? Like when you have a pet, you cherish that pet, you take care of it. You know you need to feed it, you need to bathe it, you know what I mean? When you get a new pair of shoes, you're trying not to let them get dirty for a long time. You're trying to clean them and take care of them until finally you get tired after 6 months of them, you know what I mean? They're already kind of like shaped into your foot now, and they're not like fresh like they used to be. But for the first 6 months, you're taking care of them, you know? So it's kind of like the same thing. Your everyday life, you're taking care of the things you have, your clothes, your room, your computer, the things. If not, they're not going to last. Your car, you know, or, if it's not going to last, you know what I'm saying? So the same thing. Your body is the machine that does what you want to do. So you got to take care of your machine. You got to take care of your body. You got to stretch, treat right. So longevity, so you're going to be able to break, you know, for a long time, or dance for a long time, you know. You love this stuff. What would happen to you if that would be taken away tomorrow? You know, God forbid, because of something you knew you should have did, but you didn't do, and you messed up. You know what I mean? So I rather work hard to take care of myself, and if an injury does happen, I can sit back and say, well, I did everything I could to prevent it, but it still happened, so okay, at least I tried. But if I don't try and it happens, I'm going to be like, fuck, I didn't do anything to prevent this. You know what I mean? So I've been kicking myself in the ass. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, yeah, you know, treat yourself well and treat life well, and life will treat you well. Of course, when it doesn't, it's just a challenge, because it's trying to teach you something at that moment, and that's how it makes you grow, you know. So yeah, you're right. You know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so Poe, you've been in the culture for how many years now?
Wow, the culture was all around me before I even knew it was the culture. To be honest, that's the honest truth. Because when you grow up in a Puerto Rican family, Latin family, you're living in Latin neighborhoods. Just the way your family congregates together and get together to hear music, you know, have family gatherings and inviting the neighbors, and next thing you know, there's a backyard party, You know what I mean? And everybody's just grooving and dancing. So it was always there. But what we call this culture now, like what Ephraim Abada gave it the name hip hop to hip hop, then the culture, then that happened in 81, 82, you know? Like 82, about 1980, I started popping, like strutting in my area. I learned from a guy named Mojo, you know? When I was frequenting back and forth different places from California, Puerto Rico, back to Cali, I met a guy named Mojo. So I learned how to do the robot stuff from a guy named Mojo first and waving. He was in a group called the Southside Playboys. My first crew was called Streetwise Strutters. Okay. Then I saw breaking for the first time, 82. I was 12 years old. And then now we're in 2015. So you do the math of how long I've been involved in the culture. You know what I mean? Is that 33 years or 34 years, something like that? You know what I mean? So off and on, I've always been involved in the culture, like when I wasn't even dancing anymore. Like by 86, I was like about 16 years old, I stopped. So it's like, but I kept going to clubs. I kept dancing club dances. Yeah, some people call it social dancing now, just social, but clubs was a social place. But you know, you want to get girls, you go to club. You know, you want to hang out with your boys, you go to club. But also I was writing a lot. So I got into a lot of writing when I stopped dancing. So you meet a whole other group of people after that, you know what I mean? So you're still involved in the culture because that's one of the elements that Ephraim Bada made one of the elements of the culture, you know what I mean? So I've always been involved in it and always wanted to dance, you know? So yeah, off and on.
All right, so...
Oh, I got a question.
Word.
You know, a lot of times I get asked by friends or family, why do you do what you do? And most of the times my answer is like, I got this feeling. I get this feeling when I'm dancing, but I can't even describe it, you know? It's something it's actually indescribable.
It's a beautiful answer.
If you're not doing actually this dance,
Yeah.
how would you describe it?
Exactly what you said. It's hard to describe, man. How can you describe love? You know, because love has the same thing you feel when you dance. There's moments when you hate it. There's moments when you just cherish it. You know what I mean? And love is like that. Relationships are like that. You know, there's moments when you hear a little kid yelling at their parents, I hate you. I can't wait till I get older and get out of this house. Then other days it's like, oh, I love you so much. And then you leave the house, it's like, oh, I miss you so much. You know what I mean? It's the same. So it's hard to describe that feeling, man. It could be joy, it could be pain, it could be... But all I know is there's a drive and hunger to do it. That's all I know is like, it's something that's in my mind and in my spirit that I wake up, I put on a jam, you know, I hear music, and even if I'm hurting, I feel kind of like, I start off by moving a little bit, then all of a sudden I'm moving a lot. You know what I mean? I guess it's how some people feel about, how some people want to, how some people, how do I say it? Some people like to drive for meditation. And you ask why you drive. They say like, oh, it's my prayer time. It's my meditation time. I like to get, you know, go there. It's the same thing. It's like, why do you like the color pink? You know what I mean? It just calls you, man. It's your calling. So I don't know how to describe that, man. Sometimes when people say, damn, man, you're 45. Why are you still doing that? You know, why are you still spinning on your head? I go, why not? What would I be doing? Sitting on my couch at home watching episodes of something? You know what I mean? Why not? What are you doing? Oh, I like to gamble. Why? I don't know. I like to gamble. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then I like to break. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to describe that. It's kind of like each one does it for a different reason. But all I know is you take dance away from me, it's kind of like taking...
part of yourself.
Yeah, the person you love away from you. You know what I mean? You still survive and everything, but there's that one thing that's missing. You know what I mean? Something would be missing in my life that that makes me who I am as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's hard to answer that question. That's a beautiful question. Something to think about. Let me resonate and see how I can articulate it better, and I'll send you a message on WhatsApp. I'll be like, yo, nigga, you know that question. Yeah, good question though. But go ahead. Unique.
Alright, so it's been so many years, and describing how you feel about, the dance and the culture, like one can tell why you've never left. But I'll ask you one thing that it's a standard question for people. Like loads of people want to hear probably what you have to say about this. There are periods you probably lose enthusiasm about what you do, or you feel like you want to stop for a while, or, pause the whole participation in the career. How do you deal with that, and how do you keep yourself motivated throughout the whole journey?
Okay. Good question. It's like seasons to me, right? You got your summer, then fall, then winter, right? Then spring, then summer, you know what I mean? Autumn, it goes all this in order. Constantly is a cycle. I believe that everything is a learning thing, okay? No matter how hard things get, I try to see what is it trying to teach me at that moment. What is it trying to share with me at that moment? And how would I react to it if it happens to me 2 or 3 times? I would put myself in that place and say, if this would happen to me again, I wouldn't react to it the same way I'm reacting to it now. You know what I mean? So, I try to find different ways, like to stay motivated and see the lessons that it's teaching me. Sometimes, look, I'm not motivated sometimes. Sometimes the scene makes me sick. The jealousy, the hatred, what people do and what people say. But then I step back and I say, you know what? That's not my problem. The demons that exist within the scene is those demons over there. It has nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? So I no longer will I don't have enough time for that. I don't have enough time to let somebody's scene ruin my scene anymore. You understand what I mean? And I find motivation in that. I also find motivation in proving people wrong in the right way. You know what I mean? In the right way, not in the wrong way. I don't drive off somebody's negativity. I do in a way, but I don't let it make me respond in a negative way. I let it make me respond in a positive way that also it can uplift the people that are going through it as well. You understand what I mean? So it's like I see it as a lesson, and I'm like, oh, well, I don't really have the problem. They have the problem, If I do have the problem, I'm able to say it. I'm able to say, you know what, I was wrong in this. I'm sorry, But if I don't have the problem, if there's no reason for it, that people are just being unreasonable, you know what I mean? Because there's people out there in the scene that it's just a bunch of rumors and stuff. And it's kind of like, that can get disturbing and that can get sickening, But in reality, if you know in your heart what's real, what's right, and you stick with that, that's your shield. You understand what I mean? And no matter what somebody tries to do to you, or the scene or whatever, it bounces right off you, man. You know what I'm saying? And you just keep training, and prove everybody wrong that thinks that. You know what I mean? But without having to. It will naturally do it. You know what I mean? By you being you, it will naturally show people continuously that you're you. And no matter what. You know what I mean? I stay motivated that way. You know what I mean? As you know also, from practicing with me for this whole week, I give myself a lot of concepts. You know what I mean? I'm constantly trying to find new ways to keep me interested. And this is to develop. You know what I mean? This is like another topic, but the same. In dancing to develop, to keep evolutionizing after so many years, yo, man, I get hype watching you guys dance. It hypes me up. When I see you rock a song, the energy you have when you rock a song, and I see in your eyes that you believe it, like really believe it, it makes me want to go off. It makes me like get up and be like, yo, I want to join you, like in this conversation. And that's an inspiration too. How can I sit down if all you guys are jamming like, yo, I was sick that day I walked in the studio. And you guys started jamming out and I jumped in. I had to, So it's like, that's the drive that keeps me motivated as well. You know what I mean? There's many, many reasons, things that keep me motivated. You know what I mean? Yeah. Also, when I do there's been moments that I step away and do my own thing. I do other things, I like to draw, I like to drive, I like to go to museums and galleries. So I find interest in other references and other things. And those things actually inspire me to come back to what I'm doing. They give me new ideas. You know what I mean? And that's another way as well. You're not just about one thing. You have many things that you like, So you bring it in like what we said at the beginning of the interview. What you do in real life, bring it in. You know what I mean? Everything about it. Did that answer your question a little bit? Yeah. Any other? Yeah.
So, one question I wanted to ask you is, what are some of the mistakes you made in hip hop culture, and what did you learn out of them?
Good question. Mistakes.
What's something you do differently today because of those mistakes?
Good question. Never been asked that before in my life.
It's not my question, actually. But
yeah. Who asked you that?
From the forum of the Cipher people.
Okay. My mistakes. Oof. I don't know. I really don't know. To be honest, because I try to think before I react, actually. I try to think before I act. I try to see what would the consequences be before I act. When I was young, I could tell you lessons that I've learned when I was younger that changed me to make me the man I am today.
Go ahead.
You know what I mean? So I learned off my friends' mistakes. You know what I mean? I learned off, how your parents tell you, don't touch that, that's hot. And once they turn around, you touch it and you burn yourself. But that's how you learn. You know what I mean?
Personal experience.
Personal experience, exactly. So I learned a little bit like that, but I kind of got tired of knocking myself in the head all the time. You know what I mean? So I started paying attention to what my friends did and the mistakes they were making. And I would make sure I didn't make that same mistake. You know what I'm saying? So let's say if I grew up, different areas, I've traveled a lot in my lifetime. I've traveled a lot. And not as just an older age. Because of my parents' divorce, if I wanted to see my dad, I had to be in California. If I wanted to see my mom, I had to be in Puerto Rico. If I wanted to see my grandmother, I had to go to Castañer, Puerto Rico. If I wanted to see my grandfather, my dad, so I had to go to Bolivia, South America. You know what I mean? If I wanted to see family, I had to go on my mom's side. My uncle Jimmy lives in Staten Island, New York. My cousins live in Staten Island, New York. That first I saw break, right? So it's like, if my mom wanted to see her sister, she would take me to New York with her, to Staten Island, and New Jersey as well. Like, I have family in New Jersey, I have family in Queens, family in Brooklyn, But I'm not from there. But shit, traveling at a young age, you see everything, how people congregate, how people mix. Then I go to California and I see the neighborhood there, and I see how that is. I go to Puerto Rico and see the neighborhood there. So at a young age, to make new friends, you kind of really pay attention to what's around you and how things work. Because I was the only child. You know what I mean? I didn't have brothers until my mother met my stepfather. You know what I mean? I had a brother, half-brother, on my mom's side. She had a son before she met my father, but I didn't know about my brother until later, until I was 16, and he was 18, And I found out because his father got murdered in Puerto Rico, so my mother went to go see him and took me. And on the way there, she goes, I have something to tell you. You have a brother. And I said, what? You know what I mean? So, like, all this stuff is like, it teaches you lessons. And it teaches you to observe and not talk so much. And by observing, you see how the game is played. And you learn very quickly. You learn very quickly details. That's why I see a lot of things very quickly. You know what I mean? I brought it in at a young age because I had to be ready. Because if in a new neighborhood, you know, you have your bully on the block that wants to pick on you. So you meet one person, then you're walking down to the basketball court, and walking down there's a group of other kids that live in the other building, and then, or the other block, to get to the basketball court, they're waiting for you, and you're the new kid on the block. So you learn ways to walk through the creek, climb the fence, to avoid them, and then finally one day you can't avoid them, and you know what I mean? Yeah. So you learn all these lessons. So, to be honest, I try not to make mistakes. I try not to. And I learn off people around me through their mistakes. You know? I think some of the biggest mistakes I can say that I've done is lose my patience. And attack on somebody. You know what I mean? In an environment that I shouldn't have, when most people know me as peace on earth. You know what I mean? But remember, I'm a man too. Like, and if you test me, we're gonna go at it. You know what I mean? I'm a man too. But there was moments when I've been tested that I've done it in, like, let's say in a jam, you should never fight, right?
Yeah.
So I had an experience with somebody, and at the jam, I slapped the dude. You know what I mean? In front of everybody in the circle. And so it's kind of like it was wrong. So I got on the mic. Everybody saw me. I got on the mic afterwards because I was the host. And I apologized to everybody at the jam. I said, yo, I shouldn't have done it here. But I did say I should have took him outside around the corner and beat his ass. And then I dropped the mic. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So those moments are like, those moments I do regret because it's a side of me that, it's an old side of me that I wouldn't want people to see so often, you know, because I think there's always ways to talk things out. But I'll be honest, you yourselves know that some people are so unrational or irrational. They do not want to rationalize, and they're just bullies. And they won't leave you alone because they think you're a sucker because you're so nice until you finally do slap them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like there's moments to do that, moments not. My biggest mistake was I've done it in certain places that I shouldn't have did it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Maybe that's how you learn, though.
Yeah, I learned from it, yeah.
You learn by mistakes anyway.
Yeah, I learned from mistakes, so like
Everybody
that.
Does, yeah.
You know. So I watch you guys, and you know how in the workshop I said, I learn off your guys' mistakes, what you're doing, and I create moves. I've also told you guys, this is like a little breaking thing, right? I also told you guys there is no mistakes in breaking. If you do it with style, finesse, class, rhythm, character, there is no mistakes. It becomes something. The mistakes are the moves. Done with groove, how could it be a mistake? It gets funky. You know what I mean? So do all the mistakes you want, but make it funky. You know, and that's how the creativity comes out. You know what I'm saying?
Perfect style, right?
Yeah, exactly. Ivan says crash to create or crash with style. You know what I mean? Abstract says learn to fall. You know? Same thing, man. I really live off that. You know? Crash with style, y'all, back in the day.
Can I ask one last question?
Yeah, what's up?
You said something, you mentioned funky right now. So what is funk?
Ooh.
I'm going to stay here, right?
It's hard to describe, okay, but I'll keep it simple.
Yeah.
Nobody taught you this gesture, people that are watching. Nobody, let's say something stinks. When a baby doesn't like something, a baby has no reaction, nothing, right? I mean, it wasn't taught anything yet. But if it smells something it doesn't like or tastes something it doesn't like, the first thing they do is this. That face.
Yeah.
Okay? So, then you see a band play, a funk band, and all of a sudden somebody's drumming something, freestyling in a jazz band, boom, boom. Then the bass guy's like looking and he starts feeling that. He's like, And the face starts going like, and then he adds a bass to it. Then the piano guy looks at both of them and says, ooh, and closes his eyes and feels like, ooh. Then all of a sudden, James Brown goes, hit me. And when the hit hits so hard, it's like, ooh, hits. That face is the same face of the Fuchi face, the funky face that people make when something stinks or when something is really fresh. You could be across from the circle from me, and all of a sudden we don't know each other. Somebody's dancing. All of a sudden they play our favorite song, but I don't know you. And you're on the other side of the circle. And I'm looking at the dancer, so are you. And I go like this, oh, and I raise my head. And when I look down, you're doing the same thing, and our eyes connect, and we're like, yeah. There's somebody in the world that feels like me at that one moment. That's that funk. You understand? Some people might describe it another way. That's fine. But one thing I do know is everybody puts that same face when something is funky. That same expression. Feel the funk. All right? Bassick Crew in the building, Style Elements Monster Squad. You know what I'm saying? Peace. Zulu.
Thanks,
Each one teach one, baby.